In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to save informations into SQLite database using AsyncTask. Sometimes the database operations are long-running process, so it is better to use a separate thread to perform the long-running database operations. So if you're using AsyncTask, you will get a separate worker thread. So here I am going to demonstrate how to put information into SQLite database using AsyncTask. So here this application contains two activity. The main activity and second one is save info activity. On the main activity there is two buttons. There is the first button is add product. So whenever user click the add product button, it will invoke the second activity. On the second activity, here we save some product information. First one is product ID, second one product name, product quantity, and last one is product price. So now go to the first activity main.xml that contain two buttons. So now we are going to add a product into the SQLite database using AsyncTask. So go to the XML version. Here is the first button. First here I am going to add an onClick method for the first button. So employee onClick, name it as add product. Now we have to define this method inside main activity. So open main activity and define that method. Public void, product name is add product. Don't forget to add the view argument. So whenever user click the button, we have to display the second activity, that is the save info activity. So here we have to start that activity. Start activity, new intent, specify the context object as this. Now specify the activity class. Here the activity class is save info dot class. This will start the second activity. So inside the second activity, here the product information, product ID, product name, product quantity, and product price. Go to the XML version. So now we have to specify some ID for the field. First one is product ID. So here I am going to specify the ID for the first one, product ID. Name it as DID. ID equal to DID. Now the second edit text, product name, employee ID plus ID, name it as D name. Now product quantity, employee ID plus ID, name it as D quantity. And final one is product price, employee ID plus ID, name it as D price. Now here is the save button. Now we have to specify an onClick method for the button. Specify some onClick method for this button. Employee onClick equal to, I name it as save data. Now we have to define this method inside save info activity class file. So copy the method name, go to the save info class and define that method. Public void save data, add some view argument. Now here we have to declare some variables. Edit text. First one is ID. I name it as EID. Second one is name, ename. Third one is price, ePrice. And last one is quantity. Name it as e quantity. Now we have to initialize these variables. First one is eid, find the view by id r.id dot did, typecast this one into edit text. Now the second one is ename, find the view by id r.id dot dname, typecast it into edit text. Now eprice, find the view by id r.id dot dprice, typecast it one into edit text. And the last one is quantity, eQuantity equal to find the view by id r.id dot dQuantity, typecast it into corresponding class, that is edit text. So whenever user click the save data, we have to get the information from the field. So for that, here I need some string variables, string id, name, price and quantity. So whenever user click the save button, we have to get information from the edit text. First one is id equal to eid dot get text dot to string. Second one is name, ename dot get text dot to string. Now price, eprice dot get text dot to string. And final one is quantity, eQuantity dot get text dot to string. Okay, so now we have to define the structure of the database. We have to we have to create a database, we have to add some table into the database. So first we have to define the structure of the database. So we have to define some contract class. So here I am going to add some contract class for create the database. So right click the package and create a new Java class. I name it as product contract. Click OK. Make the class as a final class. Now inside this class define some inner class, public static abstract class, name it as product entry. Now we have to define some variables inside this abstract class, public static final string. First column name is id, so id equal to id. This is the column name inside the table. Now public static final string name equal to name. Now we have to define another column for price, so public static final string price equal to price. And the last one is quantity, public static final string quantity equal to quantity. And finally we need some name for the table, so public static final string table name equal to product table. Okay, so now we define the contract class that contain all the necessary field for the database. And finally we need some default constructor for this class to avoid accidental object creation. So here I'm going to create some default constructor, product contract. Okay, now we need another Java class for performing the database operations. So right click the package and create a new Java class, and I name it as DB operations extends SQLite open helper. And you need to add some implement methods. There are two methods, onCreate and onUpCreate methods. Click OK. First here we need some variables. Declare some variables, private static final int database DB version, database version. I put the version as 1. Now we need some name for the database, so private static final string DB name, database name. I name it as product info db. So now we need some constructor for this class. So SQLite open helper that contain a context argument, name it as ctx, and call the super method. First argument is the context. Second one, you have to specify the database name. Here the database name is available on this variable called the DB name. Now you need to specify the cursor factory objects. There is no cursor factory object, so pass null for it. And finally you have to specify the database version. It is available inside this variable called the DB version. So this will create the database. Sorry, here the class name is wrong. Here the class name is DB operations. That is the class name. Okay, so here when we create an object, it will create the database. So we have to print some logcat message, database operations, and here the message is database created. Okay, now we have to create the table. For that we have to create the query for create the table. So private static final string create query, and now we are going to write the query for create the table. So create table. Now specify the table name. Here the table name is get from the contract class. So product contract dot product entry, and the field name is table name. Now we have to specify the we have to start the bracket. Here the bracket is started. Now we have to specify the column name, first column name. Here the first column name is id. So we get the column name from the contract class. So here the contract class is product entry dot first field is id. Now we have to specify the data type, that is string type. So text, don't forget to put a space here. Now specify the second column name. Second column name is name. So product entry dot name. That is also a text value. And here you need to put some comma. Here also put a comma. Now the third column is price. So product entry dot price, that is of integer type. Don't forget to put some space here, integer. And the final one is quantity. So product entry dot quantity, that is also integer type. Integer, and close the bracket, put a semicolon here, no need of this plus, and finally close the statement using a semicolon. Here also a space is needed, put a space here also. Okay, now we have to create the table using this create query. So you can create the table inside the onCreate method using this SQLite database object. So db dot execute SQL and specify the string name create query. This will create the table. Here also put some logcat message, database operations, and here table created. Okay, now we have to define some methods for add informations into the database. So define some methods. Public void add informations. We need some arguments for this method. First one is an SQLite database object db. Second one is the id, product id. Now product name, string name. Now price, and finally quantity. To add informations into the database, we have to create an object of content values. Content values, name it as content values, equal to new content values. First we have to add informations into the content values. So content values dot put. First you have to specify the column name. We can get the column name from the contract class. So product entry dot first one is id, and here the information is available on the argument id. Now name, product entry dot name, and here it is available on this argument name. Third one is price, product entry dot price, and is available on this variable price. And final one is quantity, content values dot put product entry dot quantity, and is available on this variable quantity. Now we have to put the information into the SQLite database. So you have to call the insert method using the SQLite database argument. So db dot insert. First you have to specify the table name. We get the table name from the contract class. Product entry dot table name. Second one, you have to specify any nullable columns. Here there is no nullable columns, so pass null for it. And final one is the content value object, content values. This will add one row of data into the table, so put some logcat message here. One row inserted. Okay, so now we finish the database operation for add informations into the database. Now we have to create some async task to perform the database operations. So create a new Java class, right click the package and create a new Java class. Name it as background task. Click OK. Extends AsyncTask. You have to specify the generic types. So first here I am going to pass void for the generic types. We will change it later. Now you need to implement some method. You have to implement this method do in background and click OK. We need some other method like on pre-execute, on progress update, and final one is on post execute. We have to perform the database operations inside the do in background method. So first here I am going to change the argument of this method into string. So we have to modify the generic type of the async task. First argument is change into string. Okay. So now we have to call this async task. So go to the saveinfo.java class. Here first we have to create an object of that particular async task. Before that we have to add some constructor for the async task. So go to the background task.java file. First here I am going to put some constructor. Before here define some variable, define some context object ctx. Now define some constructor background task with a context argument. Now initialize that particular variable, this dot ctx equal to ctx. Okay, now go to the saveinfo.java class. First here we have to create an object of that particular async task class. Here the async task class name is background task. So background task, name it as background task equal to new background task and pass this as context object. Now we have to execute the async task. So background task dot execute. First here I pass some string values. This will represent whether the database operation is an insertion or data retrieval. So here first we are going to add informations into the database. So add info. Now we have to pass the data. First one is product ID. We have to put these statements inside this method, save data method. Okay. First we have to pass the ID. Second one is name. Third one is price. And last one is quantity. This will execute the async task. Now go to the async task, background task.java. So first here get the method. So string method equal to params of 0, and if it is equal to add info, it is a data insertion operation. So start some if loop. If method dot equals add info, in that case we have to perform a data insertion operation. Now we have to get the arguments. First one is the product ID, string ID equal to params of 1. Now name, product name, params of 2. Third one is price, that is integer. So we have to convert that one into integer. Integer dot parseInt, params of 3. And the last one is quantity. Quantity equal to, that is also integer. Integer dot parseInt, params of 4. Now we have to perform the database operations. For that we have to create an object of DB operations. So I create the object here, DB operations, name it as DB operations equal to new DB operations, and pass the context object. And here create an object of SQLite database, name it as DB equal to DB operations dot get writable database. Now we have to call that particular method. That method name is add informations. So we have to call that method DB operations dot add informations. First one is the SQLite database object. Second one is ID. Third one is name. Fourth one is price. And the last one is quantity. And after insert one row of data, return some result. Data one row inserted. So here we have some result that is of string type. So we have to change the last generic type into string. Here also change the return type into string, and we got the result inside the onPost execute method. So here we have to specify we have to change the void into string, and for convenience here I change the argument into result. There is no need of this super keyword, remove that one and display some toast here. Use the context object and print the result. toast dot make into long, and finally make the toast visible using show method. So now we finish the coding. Now we can test the application on a virtual device. Okay, now we can test the application on a virtual device. So after inserting one array of data, we have to finish the activity. So put the finish method here. Now we can run the application. So now I am going to run the application on this virtual device. So click the run button. Okay, now the application is available on this virtual device. So now I am going to add some product into the database. So click the add product button. First provide some product ID. I provide the product ID as 12A. Now specify some product name. I specify the product name as mouse. Now specify some product quantity. I specify the quantity as 125. And finally specify some product price. Specify the price as 300 and click save. Now the activity is closed and one row is inserted. Now check the logcat message here. Database operation, database created, table created, and one row is inserted. Now we can test it whether the data is available on the database or not. So open up the device monitor. You can find out the device monitor at the top of Android Studio. Open Android device monitor. Now select the current running emulator. Here there is only one emulator is available. And at the right side, open the file explorer and find out the folder called data. Inside that folder there is another folder called data. Open that folder, and here you need to find out your application package name. Here my application package name is com.blogspot.easywaytoin.desktop. Expand that folder, and inside that folder you can see a folder called databases. Expand that folder, and here is the database productinfo.db. That is our database name. So select that database and pull this particular file from this device. Now I save the information, save the database into my desktop. The file name is productinfo and click save. Now open the SQLite browser. Open SQLite browser and open that database. Open database. The database is available in my desktop. This is the file name productinfo. Open it. Here you can see the product. Here the database, and here is the table that contain ID, name, price, and quantity. Now we can browse the data and select the table, product table. Here is the data. This is how we insert information into SQLite database using AsyncTask. I hope you understand the concepts. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.